Successful e-commerce stores understand that their success is not merely because of tactics. They have a solid strategy that they're implementing, and they are basing their decisions on that strategy. However, many smaller stores, they are thinking that they must follow the big stores and they can just copy their way to success. But if you think of it like that, then you are always going to be one step behind, because great stores, massive e-commerce stores, they are not built on being tactically superior. They're not built on having the best urgency timers or things like this. So at the heart of competitive strategy is an understanding of how you are going to compete on the marketplace. So it's not about the tactics. The tactics are more of a bonus to your strategy. And what we often see in e-commerce is that stores are cluttered with different tactics because stores just copy each other. So that leads me to this forward statement that is very common and super dangerous, and that is they must know better. So everyone's just following each other and thinking whatever the big boys or girls are doing, we must do the same. Now I'll dive into it a little bit deeper, but if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, because I provide great e-commerce focused videos on this channel. A lot of value. I make it like a course. I don't have a course to sell, so this is my course. And like the button if you do like the video down there. And let's jump into this one. I'm going to go through some store examples in just a minute, but before I do that, let's cover why this happens in the first place. So there's this kind of phenomenon with human behavior where people just want to follow the leader. They want that security that they are behind somebody else's decisions, and then they are often more comfortable with those decisions. So sometimes people look into different pages and sites, and then they start rationalizing why they are doing it a certain way. So I'll dive into an example here. You see a lot of stores when it comes to clothing and jewelry follow this kind of layout. This is from Pura Vida, one of the biggest Shopify stores ever. And they try to copy it, try to model it blindly without understanding why Pura Vida could do it in the first place. So they can do it, of course, because they are a huge known brand by now. And people coming to this page have trust. They understand the brand a lot of the times better than they ever could do with your small store where people are first-time visitors, etc. So this kind of thing where you lead with products, you have the categories and products on the front page, is pretty common. And in general, it's not that great for smaller e-commerce stores to not tell anything about yourself. So if you think of like why people do it, it is very easy to kind of give into that authority when you are a little bit of uncertain what to do. So you are not being the leader yet, you're being the follower, and following feels safe. But at the end of the day, it kills you, because then you just end up being one of those million plus Shopify stores that is not unique at all. So it's a little bit of an illusion that it's safe. And when it comes to e-commerce, the herd doesn't win, because not everyone can win in e-commerce. It's very easy to put together a Shopify store. So it's not a competitive advantage to just own a store. So here, if you start feeling emotionally comfortable with following this layout and doing things the same way, then your brain is starting to rationalize how this is a good idea. So it brings up this kind of complexity and kind of makes it less scary. So business, of course, and front page and e-commerce stores can be quite complicated. But their strategy is not yours, and vice versa as well. So you don't know why they did it, and you shouldn't just blindly follow it. So don't be like these people here, because you're always trying to keep up, and you're always going to be one step behind of the leader and whoever you're trying to follow. A very good example for this is this picture. There was a National Geographic documentary a long time ago where there were a lot of these kind of lemmings. So it's like rat-like creature. First one jumped off the hill for any kind of reason, probably lost his balance and just went. There was another guy following him, and maybe the same thing happened. And then people were just thinking, or these lemmings in that kind of case, were just thinking that, hey, it's a good idea. There's something that emotionally feels wrong, but everyone else is doing it, so it must be a good idea to do. So this is super, super dangerous. You want to stand alone when you can rationalize with your best intentions that it's a good idea to not follow the herd. We as human beings, of course, are not lemmings, but oftentimes we behave like one. And for most parts, actually a good thing. Like you want to follow the herd in most things. And this is also how we learn as children, so it comes very naturally to us. Let's move on. So what are the benefits and drawbacks of being a market follower? Because it's actually not such a black and white thing. In general, copying others is a defensive strategy. You are just trying to match whatever other people are doing. So it's not really trying to challenge the leader or being better in some other way. It's just trying to maintain your position. Now, if you're a smaller store, maintaining your position will not be able to get you market share. So you're just always going to be compared with the big boys or the big leaders because you're not being unique. And then you're never a primary choice of the market because there's no real reason to choose you. The only reason is price or availability or these kind of more commodity things. And that's not going to bring you much pricing power, which is going to be hugely problematic. Then it's tough to win new business because you're just going to be grouped with everything else. So if you have a Shopify store with the standard theme, selling the same AliExpress products as everyone else, you're going to get just about the same results as everyone else. And the dropshipping graveyard is full of stores who just did the standard thing and didn't really have a plan of why they would be able to win in the first place. So those are some of the cons, but there are of course like benefits as well. And it's not a case where you should never follow. You are able to follow in some ways and still win, just as long as it's not the primary thing that you do. Because this will also enable you to copy some elements of your competitors without really having to do a lot of innovation. Because innovation can be costly. You can, if you do it smart, still copy some of the good things, but you need to understand the strategy behind it. And that's really the main point here. It cannot be just blindly that they know better and just assuming that you should then follow it. So the idea here is that you will be able to understand what other people are doing, other stores, and then you can capitalize on their mistakes by copying the parts that fit your strategy while discarding the parts that don't. And that's where you can drive value. So you are basically value innovating by saying no to some things and keeping the most important things. And this way, the price of your products can be cheaper because let's say like customer service isn't important for your particular niche. And then you have a pricing power advantage. So let's jump into examples and see if we can understand the other side as well. And in general, you should be able to use counter arguments for all of these elements as well in order to fully justify them. So first of all, we have a loyalty program. Now, in some cases, it might make sense. In other cases, it definitely doesn't make sense. In many cases, it just ends up being another tactical gimmick that people add to their store when they are struggling to scale it and think that like, maybe one more thing will make all the difference. And in the end, it just ends up cluttering the store and being a little bit of additional distraction. So that's one example where you would need to really think about it. And before you launch a program like this, you'd want to also put some measures in place. What are you expecting to get? And what's the line where you are willing to cut it out completely? If it doesn't generate a certain amount of business, you'll just be cutting it out. Then next up, let's look into another store. So this is a store selling motorbike gear. Here they have a wishlist. Very popular feature, and theme creators often like to include it because people want those kinds of features in their theme. So the theme just looks better and it's going to sell more when it has a wish list. However, oftentimes it's unnecessary. It just ends up cluttering things. It's not really that valuable because people are not sharing their wish lists. You could just use the shopping cart in the first place. The rotating banner here on here is another good example of something theme creators like to create, something the store owners like to have. It's a little bit of a marketing hack in a way. You have a certain amount of messages. You wouldn't want people to miss them, and so you put everything into your banner. But in reality, it just ends up being one of those things that nobody really stops to read your banner or take a look at it. So these messages are lost. There's a lot of research on these kind of things as well. So I'd look into these kinds of things as well to understand the both sides of the arguments. And this way you can make a decision weighing up the pros and cons of certain elements. All right, let's do one more example. And this one is from Amazon. So here, Amazon does things pretty well, right? Like they do a lot of e-commerce transactions and quite a high revenue amount. Now, should you copy everything here? Probably not, because their situation is quite different. And there are definitely a couple things here that people generally copy from Amazon. Like people like to have the buy now button. And here, of course, with Amazon, it's a little bit different because they have the one-click purchases. Many people are already signed in, like I am here. So for them, the experience will be completely different. Another thing that people really like is copying the upsells. We also see in Shopify apps with these kind of things. But here, you should really think of what kind of upsells are you offering. So in this kind of case, you have one kind of headset. And even Amazon is trying to get you to buy another headset with the first one. And then this kind of earpiece type of Bluetooth headset type of thing. So not a very good combination for upsells, I'd assume. So it's just a perfect example how even big brands, even on products that are quite popular, can get it wrong. And likely this combination doesn't do that well. Like it's just too big of an ask. You're asking to buy products that people don't understand and require quite a bit of research. So very unlikely that these are going to sell that well. I'll leave you with another one of these examples. So this is AirPods 2 from Apple. Very popular products. Massive amount of ratings. There's a lot of incentives to optimize this page. But here they are offering me this kind of case that is super girly and just looks odd. It's unlikely that this would be the right case for me unless I'm buying this as a gift for like my sister or something. Like it's very unlikely to be a good combination. So here I would suggest testing these things, not taking them at face value. There's a lot of stores that I've seen this kind of upsells with, buy it with bundles, just because Amazon does it. And everyone's just following. So that's it. Thank you very much for watching the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment if you had any questions or would like to discuss anything related to these kind of things. And if you are already in the upper 6 figures, 7-figure range with your e-commerce store, you can check us out at growgurus.com, where we help you get the most out of your existing e-commerce traffic with the on-site optimization methodology that we have. Take a look at it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.